Okay, welcome. This is the program for the J-lube machinery. Basically what you're going to go do is you're going to, it's just a touch screen. You can go into manual run. Jog is jogging the auger, so the auger will just spin freely. If you want to, in the beginning of the morning, you have some product you want to get through to start it, that's what you would do. Just hit jog and you can hold it for more turns. Agitation when you jog, you know, could be with fill. Continuous is turning all the time, but mostly you'd go with fill and jog. You can check out the indexing. If you hit index, these index cylinders will retract in and out. So if you're setting up a bottle, these are set right now, so you don't have to really, you do not need to touch these at all. In fact, I'd recommend not touching them at all, but you can play with these in manual mode for indexing bottles. Neck clamp is this little piece right here. This comes out to the bottle. Again, in manual mode, you can just retract it to set it up. If for any reason you need to move it out of the way or move it back in, you can manually adjust it. Again, these are all set for your bottles. We took a video. You really don't want to touch anything. Your bottles have such a tiny opening. It takes a little bit of time to get it set correctly. So again, I would just take a look at all the where everything is set, all the bolts, and you want to pretty much, even these set screws in here can move up and down. This is where we want to set it for your bottle. I take notes and take some pictures of where everything should be set. I'm videotaping it for you now. You can manually lift if you want to manually set it up for the lift, and manually vibrate. It just shakes the container. All right, let's return. All right, system setup. Clamp close delay we hardly have on at all. Again, and delay lift up is hardly delaying at all. You can play with those a little bit. These are in milliseconds right now. To get the 8 per minute that we're looking to get, we have these set pretty low. If you want to adjust these at all and slow down, it's probably recommended to slow maybe down 1 or so a minute, 1 or 2. But you'll see through the video how we have it set up. Lift hold's very, very important. Lift hold is going to, this lift will lift up, lift the bottle up, and you can see in the video, it will hold it here. It's going to hold it here for 3 seconds because you really want to pack your material in to get it all in. It's a lot of material in that bottle. So that lift hold is set for 3 full seconds. Again, this is where we would leave it for your bottles and where you're set right now. If you ever change the bottles, weight, how much weight you're putting in, you might lift it for a little bit less than this time. There is no cutoff, so you don't need to worry about that. Agitation shut off, we're set at 2 seconds, so in case there's any kind of breakdown after 2 seconds, it will just shut off. The increment and decrement amount, that is important. If you go into auto run, you have 87 turns, you have more or less. So if you hit more, well, how many more turns do you want? Well, you go back to the system setup, and it's right now we're only 0.1 turns. It's not a whole lot to increase or decrease. So you can play with that a little bit. If you want to increase it a quarter turn or decrease it a quarter turn, you just go into here, hit 0.25, enter, and you can change that real easily. Again, that's changing the more or less. Because during the course of a day, your product may change. You may want to go a little bit higher or a little bit lower for that, for your turns, for getting more or less of product in. The low level delay, so you have a level control in here. How you're going to need to keep this hopper, at least half full. You do not want to get it down to here. Right now we have a level control. The tuning forks come to right here. So if you're filling it in, hopefully you're hooking up to a screw feeder or some kind of feeder that will talk and keep this at least half full. But between here and here is where you want to be. You do not want to get down to here. It's going to really mess up your weights. So you want to. This is 2 seconds. So after it's satisfied and it's done vibrating, after 2 seconds it'll start filling again. That's your low level delay. You want your index enabled. That is enabled right now. You want your lift enabled. You want your neck clamp enabled. If you wanted to change it, you can just click it off. It's disabled. But we're going to definitely leave indexing on, lift on, neck clamp on. We don't have a cutoff, and we want vibrate on. So we want all those on. These are your settings right here for running your product. Let's go into edit recipe. All right, so we're in recipe 1. We've named it 2 ounce, even though it's not that, but that's what we named it. You want your agitation to be in turns. I'm sorry, your mode to be in turns. That's your auger turns. Your agitation to be with fill. All right, so if we have an encoder that's counting down the clutch brake. There's an encoder in there, and that's counting down with how many turns you have of your auger. If your encoder were to ever fail, you could turn it into time and do it by seconds. Right now though, we're in turns, and we want it's basically, well, it's 88 turns really. With the encoder, it's less than that, but that's how much we're setting it at. You can change the turns if you want, but 88 is where we have set yours. But if you want to change it, just hit the turns. You can do 87, or put whatever you want in there. Again, 88 is where we had it. Looked like it was hitting pretty good, but that probably will change a little bit. With fill is your agitation. So you have a blade inside this hopper that sweeps around the inner wall. Every time your auger turns, the agitation blade will turn just a little bit, and that's where you want it with your product, with fill, not continuous. Recipe page 2. We have our vibration off right now. We weren't using it at all. Here's your delays. These are really important. So delay after fill, we have a second, transfer time at 1 second, and settle time for 1 second. That is how we set yours up. You can change them to whatever you want, but that is the settings we have for your bottles, and they're running really nice. Start fill delay we have at 2 seconds. I think we actually put that down a little bit, but I'll double check. You can push your motor on or off. You gotta turn off, on, conveyor, on, off. We push it off. These are for your conveyor. This is the, why it's down like that, but it should be setting at around 5. All right, setting at 5. All right, so we can turn that conveyor off if you want. All right, so system setup, edit recipes, manual run. If you're going back into edit recipes, you can go into the next recipe if you want to do another recipe. For your 1 bottle that we have this 1 bottle. Changing the name of it. You can change it to I forget what it is, 282 gram fill, something like that, or 4. It's just 282 space grams. That's what we'll name it. I'm gonna hit enter, and then we're back. So now I think it's 282 or 284. I'm sorry. Let me see. 284. Yep. Of course it's 284. Haha. 284. 284 space grams. Hope I'm getting all this for you. Boom. All right. Return. All right. So we're ready to run now. Auto run. So all you would do now, you can see on there, we have 284 grams, 88 turns, filler's not running. But we're waiting here. We have a counter right there, count how many bottles you're in, and all you do is hit start. Boop. We're not gonna run it right now because we're not quite set up. We're just going over everything with you. The bottles will not run until this photo eye is, see that photo eye there? See the lights come on? I'll just put my hand in front of it right now. So bottles in front of there, this will not run. So bottles have to be in front of here for this thing to run, right? Here are this index cylinders. Round, point, round, point. And you can see in the video when we run it how it's set up. Basically this one's lining it up, this one's coming out when it's filling. Line up, filling. This one lets it go, this one goes in between those bottles. That's how it works. Pretty simple. You do have a dust shroud here. There wasn't much dust at all. I mean, we have it here. You can hook up a vacuum to it if you want. This is very important. So this is your funnel. There is an auger that's coming down to the bottom here. The auger is basically, it's up in here and twisted and locked in place. This auger, you want this auger to be as down as far as possible without touching the lip. There's a lip underneath this tube. You do not want the auger touching the lip, but you don't want the auger like up here either. You can adjust it inside this hopper. There's a shaft with a slot in the top of it that you'll see. That auger shaft can slide up or down. We have it set perfectly right now, but if you clean it, which you're gonna, I'm sure, clean it, and you put it back in, when you put this auger in, it has to be almost touching this lip. Otherwise, it won't work. It'll pack up. If you get the auger here, you have the auger shaft too high, the product will just pack right in here. If you have it too low, it'll be hitting this lip and destroy it. Okay? So that's that. just going down here to the lift, all these dials are set again for you, okay? These dials are really important. We're going to provide a diagram for you. And it looks like something like this. It is this, actually. Sorry for the... This is the lift diagram. Okay, you can see we're going to put this in the manual for you. You really don't want to touch much of this stuff, but this back here is almost closed because we want it to really lift up and just hold there and kind of go down slowly. But these dials are all set again. So you can see where we're set. That one's looking at about 4 there. This one's about between 5 and 6. These are all set for your bottle. All right. So try to let everyone know not to touch that stuff too much. It's very sensitive for your bottles. Okay. Again, your bottles are tall, skinny, light, and have a small opening. So all right. So what else we got here? All these rails are adjustable. These guide rails are adjustable. They're in and out. This hopper has hopper clamps. Basically, you take those 4 off, and take those 4 off, and then this bolt right here. You don't ever touch these bolts. These bolts are kind of locked in place. There's bolts underneath. Don't touch them. You don't need to touch these. It's always can be together. It's lined up for you. This head is lined up perfectly with the auger. If you want to take the hopper down, loosen this up. Loosen this bolt. Loosen these clamps up, and then the whole hopper comes down. So funnel first, auger second. Auger is a push and turn. This bolt, then these clamps. Whole hopper comes down. Okay. Coming around the back here. This is where your air is going to go. Hook air up right to there. We're going to bring power. We do have power 220 3-phase coming out of here. We're going to want to hook up to. This button has to be on for power to come into it. Back here we have contactors and overloads. These are like circuit breakers in your house. These are for the motors. You got a motor in here and a motor in there. Fill motors in the back. If they trip, you can hit reset for these, just like circuit breakers. And there's a transformer for you that converts the 110 to 210. Pretty much it like that. And then your hood adjustment. Again, we have your hood adjustment adjusted. You do have a jack to jack up this whole head. You have a set screw in here. You just loosen it up, jack the whole head up or down, and then lock it back into place. And up top is important because you have, there's going to be a cover on there. Let me show this to you. You have a pulley up there with a V-belt, and back there, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's on the top of the pulley. There's 3 steps. We're on the top one, so we're going to get the part out as fast as possible. It's 900 RPM is what we're running at. There is an e-stop here. The e-stop is just hit it and everything shuts down, okay? If you ever do get, because the timing of this whole thing is very important, timing is so important with this. If the lift is not matching up with the turns, the lift might not come down all the way. So you have to match the lift with the turns. Basically if you're putting in not enough product, you're putting in 200 grams and it's going to kind of get stuck. So you got to find the right lift timing with the right turns, okay? If that ever happens where your lift gets kind of stuck up here, you can go right into manual run, go into manual run right away, and then it'll, you can hit, maybe the neck clamp's sticking out or something like that. Just release it and it'll come down. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please give us a call at 610-466